You know what I see out here?
What do you see, Mike?
Nothing but a bunch of Jesus freaks.
Yeah.
Woo! That's what I'm seeing. Here we go. Let's all get in together.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Understand the words that he said, so I had to mess a rhythm from his belly with my head. Jesus saves, this is what it raved in a typical tattoo green. He saved rose on the dirt for the fences, that's cause he said he had a dream. Hit it! What would people think when they hear that I'm a Jesus freak? What will people do when they find that it's true? I don't know, homie. I don't really care if they label me a Jesus freak. I'm a Jesus
Here we go,
freak.
Grace Park.
I'm a Jesus freak. Hey, I'm a Jesus freak. Hey, I'm a Jesus freak.
People say I'm strange, does it make me a stranger that my best friend was born in a manger? People say I'm strange, does it make me a stranger that my best friend was born in a manger?
Well, in a lot of our Baptist churches, you are not a Baptist church unless you have an annual revival built into your calendar, which
Really?
is that protracted meeting.
And again, Edwards and Whitefield would have been appalled at the idea of holding a revival.
Yeah.
Their belief was that revivals were unpredictable, surprising works of God where he blessed the ordinary means of grace.
That's a huge
But
shift.
then after the Second Great Awakening, since it's in man's power to be saved, it's in man's power to hold a revival, and now God is sort of obligated to follow the... Once you punch in the right numbers, revival has to happen.
Well, you know, the interesting thing, Edwards and Whitefield, really especially Edwards and the Tennants, what they were actually doing by holding these meetings was praying and preaching, hoping that a revival would come. They did not consider their meetings to be revivals, as you mentioned, Mike, but they were really holding prayers, vigilance or prayer meetings and having special services in hopes that God would bring a revival of true religion to the people.
One historian says that younger revivalists tried to imitate not only Finney's theology and methods, but his style. Quote, pulpit manners match the burden of the address. The imitator of Finney must throw himself back and forth just as far as they did, and must, if strong enough, smite as hard upon his chair, besides imitating their wonderful drawl and familiarity with God. Hand clapping, wild gesticulation, and the shift of voice from shout to whisper added visual and auditory sensation to a theatrical performance.
Boy.
But then at the same time, it's interesting to hear the criticism of a contemporary of all of this, the pastor and theologian John Williamson Nevin, who wrote a whole book called The Anxious Bench, which was a criticism of Finney and his new measures. And it's worth quoting a little bit of this at length. Nevin, in the German Reformed Church, wrote, "Its professional machinery, its staged dramatic way, its business-like way of doing up religion in whole and short order and then being done with it, all made me feel that it was at best a most unreliable mode of carrying forward the work and kingdom of God. All is made to tell upon one single object of effect. The pulpit is transformed more or less into a stage. Divine things are so popularized as to be at last shorn of their dignity as well as their mystery. Anecdotes and stories are plentifully retailed, often in low, familiar, flippant style. The preacher feels himself and is bent on making himself felt also by the congregation. But God is not felt in the same proportion." And then he goes on to say, "The system of new measures has no affinity whatsoever with the life of the Reformation as embodied in the Augsburg Confession and the Heidelberg Catechism. It could not have found any favor in the eyes of Luther or Calvin. Luther would have denounced it in the most unmerciful terms. His soul was too large, too deep, too free to hold communion with a style of religion so mechanical and shallow. Those who are actively laboring to bring the Church of Luther in this country into Finney's system cannot be said to be true to Luther's memory or name. The system in question, he continues, is in its principle and soul neither Calvinism nor Lutheranism but Wesleyan Methodism. Those who are urging it upon the old churches are in fact doing as much as they can to turn them over into the arms of Methodism. Now, this may be done without any change of denominational name. Already the life of Methodism in this country is actively at work among other sects, which owe no fellowship with it in form. And whatever there may be that is good in Methodism, this life of the Reformation I affirm to be immeasurably more excellent and sound. If we must have Methodism, let us have it under its own proper name and its own proper shape. Why keep up the walls of denominational partition in such a case with no distinctive spiritual being to uphold or protect? A sect without a soul has no right to live. Zeal for a separate denominational name that utters no separate confession is the very essence of sectarian bigotry and schism.
Wow. Beautiful.
I mean, it's a different system. At least those who affirmed the revivals from a Wesleyan, Arminian, Pentecostal background were being consistent with their theology.
Of course.
You're listening to The White Horse Inn, and our topic is That's Entertainment, the Confusion of Church and Theater. Stay tuned for more of this discussion just after this break.